Hello everyone, Tarryn the Traveling Trainer here with GoTarryn TV and GoTarryn Personal Training out of the greater Atlanta area, about to interview a great guest, Mr. Patrick Curtis McCarty, all the way from Livingston, Louisiana. He'll be here just momentarily. But first I want to invite everyone out there to please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And while you're listening to today's podcast show, if you'd be so kind as to like the video, leave us a comment, and share it with all of your social media. Just a few moments, again, we're going to be welcoming this fine gentleman here on GoTarryn TV along with my guest, Mr. Todd Stewart. And remember, with GoTarryn Personal Training, it's your time, your investment, and your life will return with Mr. Patrick Curtis McCarty. All right, folks, Tarryn the Traveling Trainer back here on GoTarryn TV. Of course, we've got Todd Stewart, and also on the line, all the way from Livingston, Louisiana, we've got Mr. Patrick McCarty. Patrick, are you there?
I certainly am, Tarryn. It's so great to be on your program once again. I very much look forward to it.
Oh, our pleasure. Yeah, thanks again, Patrick. And again, for the folks listening out there, we saw Patrick earlier on DirecTV with my other partner in crime, is Diane Chapman, who's out of town. But, of course, as we know, we have our new co-host, Todd Stewart, here. And I think, Todd, Patrick, you guys have met each other on Facebook, and but have not actually talked to each other yet, just texted, correct?
We certainly have, yes.
Excellent. Yeah. Very good. Well, I'll tell you what, Patrick, I'm going to start out right off the bat and ask you something because Todd and I were talking about this.
Sure.
It sounds like there's a really mean woman out there messing with you guys. Her name is it Tropical Storm Cindy? Is that right?
Oh, yes. Well, we do have this tropical storm that we're dealing with here in South Louisiana and South Mississippi as well. And it seems it's not as bad as what we thought it would be, at least here in Livingston. Now, there are certain areas in Mississippi and Louisiana that have received quite a bit of damage, but we are managing okay. It's kind of sprinkling right now. It'll start falling pretty hard and then cease for about 30 minutes or so, and then, sprinkle a little bit and then start raining hard again. So, as a South Louisianian, we're kind of we're sort of noted for our schizophrenic weather. Just, basically the only rule is to expect the unexpected when it comes to weather over here.
Oh, that's a good rule to go by. Todd, let me ask you, have you been out that way where Patrick's at?
Well, originally I am from Mobile, and then when I was 3.5, I moved to Mississippi to Moss Point until 1977. So I was there when Camille hit in 1969.
Oh,
so
you were there when Camille hit. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. That was devastating. I want to tell you that my dad is from, he was born in Laurel, Mississippi, but his parents, raised in Baton Rouge, but his parents were from the Mississippi Gulf Coast, Biloxi and Gulfport, respectively. And so I had family. I still have some family down on the Mississippi coast, but there was a lot more of family there, 50 years ago when Camille hit. And my dad, I think, had just graduated from high school. He graduated in 1969. Summer of love, right? He graduated in 1969, and Camille hit a few months later.
Right.
And he and his younger brother, my Uncle Kurt, actually went down to the coast to help basically clean up the devastation that was caused because of Camille. They had aunts and uncles who lived on the coast, and some of their relatives lost their homes. Unfortunately, it did considerable devastation, and it was unprecedented at that time. Of course, since Katrina in 2005, I think the impact and horror and damage that Katrina did, I think, superseded that of Camille.
Right.
On the coast and elsewhere, and especially Louisiana. I don't think Camille did as much damage in Louisiana as it did the Mississippi Gulf Coast. But, 69 and Camille, that's something that really stands out in sort of the family lore, because it was obviously I wasn't around then, but it was, from what I understand, from what I've read, and from what I've been told, it was quite a spectacle and very devastating. Moss Point, I'm familiar with Moss Point. I believe that's in Jackson County, Mississippi, if not mistaken, near Pascagoula and Ocean Springs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't spent. I have some a cousin. He and his family live in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, right now. It's a very lovely, part of the state. Ocean Springs is Moss Point and Pascagoula, so there's a lot to do there. And but yeah, I have very fond memories of heading over to the Mississippi Gulf Coast to visit family and go for a swim. Though, of course, as I'm sure you can imagine, as I'm sure you know, the beaches in Biloxi and Gulfport aren't really the best in the world. They're not the cleanest, and a lot of that, of course, is really just due to sort of the Mississippi River and all the sediments and stuff coming down from it into the Mississippi Sound and Gulf of Mexico. But a lot also, it was not, from what I was told, it was not always a beach. For the longest period of time, there was actually a seawall. And then I think in the 40s, I want to say, is when they actually turned it into a beach. They started pumping sand, and it eventually became a beach, and it became what it is today. But yeah, so Todd, if you don't mind me asking, you're from Mobile originally?
I am from Mobile originally, and from Irish descent and Cherokee descent from the Carolinas, so I'm a bit of a mutt.
Yeah, I want to tell you, your last is it from your Stewart family?
The Stewarts came here during the potato famine.
Oh, they came over during the potato famine. Wow, yeah. Wow. So that's interesting because most of the Irish who came over to the Carolinas, not all, but most, actually came over about 100 years prior to the potato famine with a great wave of Scots-Irish immigration.
That's my family.
Yeah, and that was in the 18th century. The potato famine, of course, was in the 19th century, in the 1840s and early 50s. But I want to mention to you that I have some Stewarts in my family as well. But from what I understand, they came directly from Scotland. Stewart is one of those names that can be found in England, it can be found in Scotland, Ireland, I think even Wales. So I think originally it is a Scottish surname, but obviously you'll find a lot of Stewarts in Ireland as well.
Well, my mother's last name is Scott, so she's Scottish. So I'm kind of like I'm both. I'm Scottish, Irish, and Cherokee. So. Yeah,
I have that as well. I have a little bit of Cherokee Indian ancestry as well on my mom's side. It's really, but you know what, as Americans, I think we're all just one giant melting pot, because I kind of accentuate my Irishness, and it's something I'm very proud of. But at the same time, I would be sort of deceiving the public or being disingenuous if I were to say that I'm just 100% Irish, or even, that's just kind of a part of my story. I have French, Scottish, Scots, Irish, English, you go down the list, just about a little bit of everything. But,
right.
But yeah, that's great. That's quite a combination. A lot of the Scots and the Irish actually intermarried with the natives, with Native Americans.
Well, see, that's me.
Yeah, a lot of them got along just, and it's interesting that if you look at a lot of the prominent sort of chiefs who were biracial, were both of Native American and European ancestry, were basically they can trace their European lineage or ancestry back to the Highlands of Scotland. So a lot of Highlanders came over to the Carolinas in particular in the 18th century, and they were Indian traders. They worked very well with the Indians, very marvelously, and they were, traded goods with the Indians, and the two were very sympathetic to one another. They both kind of had like a clan sort of structure. So even though they were, very different in many respects, culturally, there were some surprising parallels between the two groups, which I think explains, the Scots and the Irish to a lesser extent as well, sort of intermingling and intermarrying with a lot of the native tribes.
Wow.
Yeah. McIntosh is one of the more, I forget the guys, I think Lachlan McIntosh was one of the more prominent Native American chiefs who was also, I think he was half Native American, half Scottish, or his father was Lachlan McIntosh, and he was directly from Scotland. But you have John Ross, who was of Scottish ancestry as well, who was a Cherokee. I think he was mainly Scottish, but he had Cherokee ancestry as well. And he was actually chief in the Cherokee tribe. There are other examples as well, but those are two of the more prominent examples of, famous Cherokee Indian chiefs who had Scottish ancestry too.
That's amazing, Patrick. You are a wealth of knowledge. And I think, Todd, you listened to Patrick's interview with Di that we did, a couple months ago. Are you familiar with where Patrick works at, Todd?
Is that a museum in New Orleans?
Yes.
And, in the French Quarter on Conti Street. Well, I want to say I worked there past tense, Tarryn, just in case I hadn't told you. I think I may have. I'm no longer employed with the museum and haven't been for a couple of months now. And it was a great experience. I very much enjoyed it. It was just a situation where my supervisor decided to kind of scale back our hours of operation. He thought it would be more, I guess, appropriate or more lucrative to have the museum open or function on a part-time basis as it did before, as opposed to being open full-time. So as a result of that, he decided to, cut ties with me, and we decided to go our separate ways. But we cordially sort of, basically parted company. And I'm very much thankful for the opportunity that he gave me. And he was kind enough also to write a letter of recommendation on my behalf for a position, for an opening, a vacancy with the Irish consulate in Atlanta, Georgia, which I am, unfortunately, I'm sad to report that I didn't get the position.
Oh, I'm sorry,
which
Patrick.
was really
that was going to be my next
bummer,
question
man.
to you. Yeah, I remember you were interviewing for that. I'm so sorry.
Well, I mean, I thought they were going to provide me with an interview, but it didn't turn out to be that. It didn't turn out to be the case, and I was quite surprised by that because you would think, if someone who works at the owner of an Irish museum is going to go up, find the time to write a letter of recommendation, strongly recommending a guy who worked, for his museum, his cultural center for a year and a few months, that they would at least give me the time of day. But for whatever reason, I don't know, it may have been sort of an internal thing where they already had someone who was employed with the consulate who they just kind of wanted to promote or who applied for the position from within. But at the same time, that shouldn't excuse them from interviewing other candidates who aren't already affiliated with the consulate in some way or another. So, but the good news is, Tarryn, there's still a position, as far as I know, with the Irish consulate in Austin, Texas, which is still pending, that I applied for. And that is that's the consulate that we worked with. That's the consulate that has jurisdiction over Irish affairs in Louisiana. So I think I would stand a much better chance of ascertaining a position with that consulate in Austin as opposed to the one in Atlanta.
Oh, good.
But I haven't heard anything from the consul general yet. But hopefully I'll hear something soon.
Well, if there's anything we could do for you, Patrick, and I'm sure I could speak for Todd as well, if we can give you a recommendation or referral, put us down, please. You got both of our contact information. We'd love to, praise and talk about you.
But I want to strongly also suggest that if you guys find, if you guys end up in New Orleans, which is about 70 miles from where I am, I'm right next to Baton Rouge, so that'll kind of give you an idea as to where I live.
Yes.
And I consider myself to be, a Baton Rougean. When I go out, obviously outside the state or in another region in the country or outside of the country, and someone asks where I'm from, I almost always respond by saying Baton Rouge, because if I were to say Livingston, Louisiana, they would have no idea what I'm talking about and where that is. It's a very small town. So I say Baton Rouge because they may have some inkling or indication as to where Baton Rouge is, or at least they've heard of the place before. But, I do appreciate that offer. I'll certainly keep that in mind. And I do want to, highly and strongly recommend that if you guys find yourselves in New Orleans and it's the weekend, Friday or Saturday, swing by the Irish Cultural Museum and say hi to the Ahern family, Mr. Matthew and his sons. And if they're there, and, they'll be able to provide you with a tour, and, they have coffee and other drinks for sale. So there's plenty of stuff to do there, and it's conveniently located. I mean, it's basically right in the heart of the French Quarter, pretty much. So there's, I want to just kind of throw that recommendation out there in case you guys are interested.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Patrick. Todd, have you been out that way? I assume you have.
It's been since 1988.
Oh,
Easter weekend.
So almost 30 years.
Oh,
wow. It's been that long?
Yes.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
I'll just go down there every now and then, but it was a fun time.
Yeah. It's
26.
There's so much to do and so much to see, and it's such a historic city and an old city. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you guys realize this, but next year will mark the tricentennial of
Really?
New Orleans.
Oh.
300 years, since New Orleans was established in 1718. So that's coming up next year.
Let's go, Tarryn.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, definitely. We need to. That'd be great. Be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I love New Orleans and the French
But
Quarter.
I will say this much. I will say this much is as a Louisianian, and I don't know if you're a big. We've had conversations about this before, but I don't know if you're a big Atlanta Falcons fan, Tarryn. But as a Saints fan, I don't have much love for the Atlanta Falcons. I just want to throw that out there.
No, I'm not myself. Todd, are you a Falcons fan yourself?
No, not really.
Yeah, so we're all anti-Falcons fan on here, so that's
I'm
good.
happy when they win. I'm happy when they win, but I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I'll show you.
I just think that they're a franchise that really hasn't. I don't feel that they're, and I could be wrong. I mean, they have a good team now. They're in the Super Bowl last year, but I don't think that franchise is really entrenched in that city and community, like some other franchises are. You think of Green Bay, you think of even New Orleans. We love our Saints here.
Oh,
I mean, we live, breathe, sleep, everything New Orleans Saints football. And so I feel as though the franchise is more entrenched here, the Saints franchise that is, compared or as opposed to the Atlanta Falcons franchise in Atlanta. Yes. And I just don't, I feel, and I could be wrong about this, I feel that Atlanta's not a very good, and correct me if I'm wrong or if you have a different perspective or an opinion on this, but this is my opinion.
Yeah, we got Craig.
I feel as though...
Craig, I'm sorry, Patrick, I don't mean to, Craig, say hi real quick. You got Patrick and Todd right there. Patrick, Todd, this is Craig over here.
Oh, Craig.
He's joining us on GoTarryn TV.
Hey, Craig, how are you?
Hey, Patrick.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Patrick. I'm sorry. I just wanted him to say hi real quick, give you a quick shout out there.
Where'd he come from?
Hey, Craig.
Hey, Craig. I'm Todd.
No, but I mean, I don't. We're kind of off kilter here anyway. Yeah. I brought up football. It's probably something that you guys don't really want to discuss, but I want you guys to ask as many questions as you can in the time that's allotted.
That was perfect. Craig, you're a big football fan, aren't you? Aren't you a Falcons fan yourself?
Actually, I'm not.
I'm just kidding. No, but
just kidding.
To get you caught up, Craig, what is your ancestry background yourself, Craig? Because don't you have some French? We were just talking about the French Quarter, New Orleans, some ancestry.
I have French as well. Yeah.
Yeah. What about yourself, Craig?
No, my grandfather's from Belgium.
Belgium.
French-speaking portion of Belgium. I think they're called Walloons.
Oh, okay. Have you heard of that, Patrick, by any chance?
What's that?
How do you say it again, Craig?
Said
Walloon. The Walloons are the French-speaking portion of Belgium.
Okay. I was not familiar. I'm not familiar with that. I mean, when I think of Belgium, I have to say, when I think of Belgium, I think of two things. I think of the fictional detective or sleuth by Agatha Christie, Hercule Poirot, and I think of the Adventures of Tintin. If you've are you guys familiar with any of those?
I am. How about you, Todd?
Yeah.
You've seen Poirot.
Yeah, the series is great with David Suchet.
A
British mystery series is wonderful. Yeah, he does a great job in that character in that role.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant job. Yeah.
Let me ask the three of you gentlemen, have any of you ever seen the spoof parody of him, that character, Murder by Death, that movie from 1976?
It's been a while.
But you've seen it, though.
Yes.
Yeah, because one of the guys...
I have to confess, I have not.
Patrick, we got to get you caught up. Yeah. How about you, Craig?
I'm missing out on something special, it seems like. Wow, I have to check that out.
Oh, yeah, sir.
Wow.
Let me ask our other co-host, Craig, have you been to the New Orleans French Quarter area recently or in the past at all?
No, but my daughter just returned yesterday.
Oh, from that area, no kidding.
How ironic is that?
Wow, that's crazy.
My goodness.
They actually left early because of Hurricane Cindy or some type of...
We were just talking about that.
Tropical storm, yeah.
Now, she's headed, not your daughter, but Cindy is headed our way to Atlanta, isn't she? Or Todd, we were talking about that.
Yeah, she's coming up here maybe later this evening, probably.
Wow, oh my God.
Tomorrow morning.
I think it's about an 8-hour drive from New Orleans to Atlanta.
That sounds about right,
so
Patrick.
It's not... Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's certainly for me because I enjoy driving. I mean, for some people that could be a little too much, but for me, that's not really. Because you know me, I drive up to Louisville to pay a mutual friend of ours a visit when I can. So, it only takes one day. And I get there rather quick. So,
For the inside joke, it's Kenny Bolin we're speaking of, and I'm trying to get him back on the podcast here. And I was so grateful, Patrick, that you hooked Mr. Bob Ackland. I don't remember. Did you hear that podcast?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was wonderful, too. He was great. We interviewed him.
He's great, man. You know what? I have to say, Tarryn, I know you're very informed. You're a big wrestling fan, and you're highly intelligent about a variety of different things. But and maybe you did your homework beforehand. I don't know, but I was impressed with your knowledge about his career, the ins and outs of his life and career. And
yeah, well, that was during the time where I was a big fan. See, not only was I a big fan growing up, but, I think I might have told the three of you gentlemen on the phone, on the podcast, and folks listening, I've wrestled actually a lot down in the New Orleans area and Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and even you mentioned Laurel, Mississippi. Yeah, exactly. I wrestled all over down there, and that's where I was a big fan. And so I broke in because of guys like Bob Backlund and, Kenny Bolin's friend Jim Cornette, a few others that I was always a big fan of.
And Jerry Lawler, too, is one of your all-time
one of my
favorites,
yeah, certainly. Yeah, definitely. So I definitely, appreciated that era. I'm not really a big fan now, per se. I don't watch it, but
me too.
I was a huge fan. Actually, you know what? Let me get you guys caught up on something, because you don't know this, Patrick, probably. I'm guessing. I don't think, but let me make the assumption, because last year, I've been interviewing a lot of the gorgeous ladies of wrestling, the Glow Girls on the podcast, and along with Todd, we've been co-hosting with that. Now, last year, their cruise went out of New Orleans, near where you're at. This year, coming up, they're having another Glow cruise, and we're trying to get a group together. I told Todd it's going to be Todd, his partner Rick, myself, and we should put Craig and you, Patrick, on the spot. If you guys want to join our group, we're going to be called the, quote, Peachtree Group, and we're going to be getting together and going on the cruise with all the Glow Girls.
That sounds like fun.
I have to say, I think it's a great idea, and I'm certainly receptive to it, but I just don't know where I'll be at that time, because I'm kind of between jobs right now. I may be moving soon.
True, yeah.
I don't know where to. I've applied for positions all over the country. I want to mention this also, just real quick. I told you, Tarryn, and I'm sure maybe you guys would be interested in this as well, my love and passion for Ireland.
Yeah.
I actually applied for and of course I was involved with library work prior to taking the job with the museum.
Okay.
And I applied for a library assistant position in County Meath, Ireland, which I didn't get. But I got as far as a second interview or a final interview.
Okay.
But I didn't quite, I didn't get the job. They didn't offer it to me, and it was very disappointing. I mean, but at the same time, it was encouraging that I did as well as I did, anticipating that I didn't even think they were going to provide me with an interview. Being an American, I mean, they'll tell you that they don't hold that against you, but, obviously they're going to be they're going to give their own sort of preferential treatment, of course, which is understandable.
Yeah.
But
a lot of times it's who you know, isn't it?
What's that?
A lot of times it comes down to who you know over like what you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes, yeah.
Absolutely. I don't want to use the N-word nepotism, because I don't think that was involved. In a lot of cases, it is.
Yeah, you're right.
Especially smaller communities, small towns, small counties or parishes. I'm in one. I mean, Livingston. Everyone knows everyone else. In my case, from my mom's side, I'm related to practically everyone in this parish, because it's ridiculous, but it probably explains why I refused to date anyone in this parish. But anyway,
yeah,
throw that out there.
Yeah, Craig, let me tell you, you might be able to help us out, because before we had you join on the podcast, to get you caught up on the speed, Patrick's history of working at the Irish Museum out there in the French Quarter, New Orleans, Louisiana. He had applied here in Atlanta for the Irish Museum. You would think that would be just a for sure winner, and unfortunately it didn't work out.
The Irish consulate.
I'm sorry, the Irish consulate. Yeah, that's right. You told us that, and I'd just completely forgotten. But let me ask Craig, because Craig's up in the University of Georgia area near Athens. Do you know of anything similar, Craig, with Irish kind of job openings or opportunities that Patrick might be able to look at around that area? Because that's not far from Atlanta at all, really.
I really don't know of anything in Athens. I know Savannah has a large Irish.
Yeah, that's a great
Savannah,
point.
Georgia.
Yeah, Savannah very much
right.
does.
Yeah.
Savannah very much does. As a matter of fact, Savannah, along with I don't know if it's Boston or it's like a particular suburb or town right outside of Boston, are the only two places that celebrate, where St. Patrick's Day is actually a national holiday.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because they dye the river green in Savannah, if I'm not mistaken.
They do, and they do that, of course, in Chicago as well. But it's like a national holiday in Savannah, Georgia, and it's that way. I don't know if it's in Boston, the city itself, or maybe a little town or suburb outside of Boston. Of course, Boston and Massachusetts and New England have a substantially large Irish population, as one would suspect.
Yeah,
and, Savannah does as well.
Right,
and that's a good point. Because
that is a very good point.
Georgia Southern University, which is where you're teaching, right, Tarryn? Prof. Hoff, right?
Is Georgia State University out of downtown Atlanta.
Georgia State.
I like Prof. Hoff.
Georgia
That's good.
State.
Yes,
Prof.
yeah.
Georgia Southern is in Statesboro.
You know where that's at, Craig, don't you? Isn't that near your neck of the woods?
Dublin, Georgia has a big celebration on St. Patrick's Day, too.
Oh, I forgot about that.
What?
That's right.
Dublin, Georgia.
Dublin, Ireland.
Well, it's amazing. You can look this up, and this is quite startling, that there in southern Georgia, there are a lot of towns. I mean, it's amazing if you look at a lot of the surnames of the residents in the southern portion of Georgia as well, some of the names of the towns, and they're Irish in origin. And it's not like Scots Irish or, it's indigenous Irish names, native Irish. And the interesting thing is, apparently there was a large immigration of native Irish or Irish Catholics who came over and settled in southern Georgia, but because of at the time, a lack of like a Catholic church, basically, or Catholic sort of missionary sort of group, because it was overwhelmingly Protestant at the time, America was, or the original 13 colonies, which would become America, that they quickly, over time, converted to whatever the different Protestant faiths. So they didn't really retain their Roman Catholic religion, but ethnically and as far as, ancestrally, as far as heritage and everything, they're native Irish. And I think there's a town called Fitzgerald, which comes to mind. It's a very prominent Irish name. That's just one. There are many others, of course. I think there's a Dublin, Georgia, if not mistaken.
There is.
Yeah,
that's a good point. You should check. If I were you, Patrick, seriously, what Craig just brought up, I would check Savannah and see, research some of that, because then if you moved out that way, I mean, that's a place I love to visit, and you'd be very, not too far away from Atlanta. Then, I mean, that's not far at all. I mean, that's one. I think.
Well, I know that. Yeah, it's a great idea, and I've actually sort of looked into it from this perspective, Tarryn. Georgia Southern University has an Irish Studies program.
There you go. Yeah, even better.
They do, and I spoke to the guy who's kind of the head of it, basically the dean, I guess you can say, and he said that what they're looking to do is eventually establish some sort of Irish, cultural center, heritage center, and museum similar to the one in New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
In Savannah.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
I don't know. Exactly. I don't know when that project will commence, but that's kind of in the works. So hopefully they begin with that soon. And it would be great, because I know my grandfather actually lived in Savannah for a period of time, I think in the 70s. He was working there, and he lived there. I don't know for how long, but he was there for a considerable period of time. And he was in Augusta as well, which, of course, is another area of the state. It's right there on the Georgia-South Carolina border, right?
Yeah, isn't that where they have the Masters golf tournament out that way every spring?
Exactly.
And Patrick, every time I've gone to Savannah, I always say this, it reminds me of a little cute New Orleans town, like the setup of the houses and the squares they have and the parks.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah,
it does. It has that architecture, the same architecture in many cases. And from what I understand, I've never been to Savannah. I've never been to Charleston, South Carolina, but I've heard the same thing about Charleston.
Oh,
too.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
That it's very much the same, as far as the architecture and sort of the feel to it and everything.
Right.
It's
Charleston's supposed to be nice. I think Hilton Head as well, too. That area is supposed to be really nice, very affluent.
Yeah, of course. Being and I just want to mention this real quick, Tarryn, being a sort of a 90s music aficionado as you are, I'm sure you may not know, I don't know, but Darius Rucker of Hootie and the Blowfish, that's his hometown.
Oh, no kidding, really? Oh, that's cool. I did not know that. That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, man, wow. Yeah. Well, you never know. That's excellent. Well, Patrick, I'm watching the time. I'm looking closely. I know you're an hour behind us, and I know that we promised to get you out in 30 minutes. So this has flown by so quickly. But before we let you go, if you got a minute or so, can you please for anybody listening out there, they want to contact you directly or have any other questions, can you plug any of your contact information for the people who might be watching?
Well, I can certainly. I mean, you could just. I mean, I can. I have a Facebook account. It's
Okay.
Patrick Curtis McCarty is my full name. You can look me up there. My email address is pccurtis187@yahoo.com. And I have a Twitter account as well. Which I haven't really for a long time. I went a long time, deciding just not to use Twitter, but now I've been using it more often. But I have a Twitter account as well. But yeah, feel free to send me an email. I think that would probably be the best way to contact me.
Perfect.
If you have any questions or anything.
Okay, we'll put that up on the screen at the end of the blog here in just a few minutes when we fade to black. But yeah, I got to say, Patrick, we really enjoyed. Again, the half hour flies by all the time we talk to you, and thank you so much for your offer to come on here. And please, if we could have you back on the very near future, recap. Let us know how the job search and how the location geographically, how that's going, the whole process. Keep us up to speed, please.
Absolutely, most certainly, Tarryn. Hopefully, I'll have a job by then. It was a pleasure conversing with you guys.
Likewise.
Nice to meet you, Todd.
You too, Patrick.
And,
Nice to meet you guys.
So I very much look forward to it. Anytime.
Excellent. Very good. Well, thank you so much again. I appreciate your time. And for our other co-hosts here, our new co-host, Todd Stewart, and our other substitute to the substitute, Craig, and Patrick Curtis McCarty, of course. We want to thank everyone for watching GoTarryn TV as we fade to black. Here comes Patrick's contact information one more time. We'll see you, folks.